Waliullah asked a good question. This is a really important question. I'm really glad that you asked, Waliullah. Waliullah asked, can we purchase this property for investment purposes? Absolutely. So we allow customers to not only purchase a property as a primary residence for you to live in, but we also allow you to purchase investment or rental properties that you can, it's a means of growing your wealth through the rental income and the equity gained on the property, right? Another thing that we also finance is second homes. Second homes basically mean vacation homes, right? Like for me, Miami would be a vacation home for me. I would love to have a second home where it's nice and warm, inshallah, one day. So Sam, this is a question that's trending a bit. So I'm going to allow you to answer this because you answered and clarified the relationship between Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Tamer asked a question, and this is also going to Tamer and Eden asked a very similar question. So Tamer says, does Fannie Mae become a co-owner when it purchases Guidance Residential's property? And the second part of the question, which is from Eden, which I think it relates to this, I'll put it in the same question, is that Islamically he's asking, how can you sell something that you currently don't own? If you could clarify that for Eden and for everyone else.
Absolutely. So going back to that relationship with Fannie and Freddie Mac, and the fact that they are not lending institutions, they are investors. And they help facilitate liquidity in this market. They are there to buy these contracts, whether they be conventional mortgages or in our case, our musharaka mutanaqisa structures. We are co-owners with our customers. We own let's say, I'll give a simple example, 90% of the property, maybe in the beginning, maybe 95, whatever it may be. And so we have a right to be able to sell our portion of the our ownership portion of the property to an investor that can help liquidate for us the cash that we need to help more and more buyers out there in the market. And so it is permissible. We have to keep in mind the buying and selling of things that you do own is permissible, and we do have a co-ownership with you. It's established from day one through the co-ownership commitment agreement, and we are permitted to essentially sell the revenue that we would have generated to a buyer at any time. It doesn't have to be Freddie and Fannie, it could be anybody. And we have to keep in mind that this complexity was combed over for 3 years with our Sharia Supervisory Board. Now, let's go back to some of who those people are. Mufti Muhammad Taqi Uthmani, the leading scholar today in Islamic financial transaction law during our time while we live and breathe. This is the leader in Islamic financial transaction laws and knowledge on those laws. And he's also the chairman of IOFI. Someone asked a question of IOFI. Farouk, I think, asked, do you do an annual Sharia audit as required by IOFI? IOFI is the accounting and auditing organization of Islamic financial institutions. They are the standard-setting body based out of Bahrain in the Middle East. And that organization sets standards for central banks and such who want to convert to become an Islamic bank and operate within that realm. Now, the chairman of IOFI's Sharia board is none other than Mufti Muhammad Taqi Uthmani, who is the chairman of our independent Sharia supervisory board. And the 6 others who sit on our board, in addition to him, are all the leading scholars in Islamic financial transaction law today. And so when they spent those 3 years looking at all of the nuances of the structure, I think we can safely say we had the best of the best looking at this. And till today, they audit us once a year. We continuously get audited by the same board once a year. They audit us. They audit our international services, financial services and investments. We have financial services and investments across the globe, as we mentioned earlier. And so that is important. That is very, very important to the authenticity of an organization. So I hope that answers it. Salman.
Thank you, Assam. That's a very good answer to that. Naman has
There was a question. I don't know. Maybe you're getting to it. That I saw about our relationship with U.S. Bank. I don't know if you saw it. If you're going to get to it or not.
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Do you want to tackle that?
Sure, absolutely. And And the reason why I bring it up is because these relationships with essentially Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, as these other questions carried on, there's a relationship that we have with an entity called U.S. Bank. You'll hear that. Yes, U.S. Bank is a bank. We're not affiliated with that organization, but we hired their servicing unit. They have the best servicing unit in the country. We hired what is a servicing unit? We hired them to conduct administrative affairs for us, like the collection of payments on our behalf, like to get more granular, to send out by mail the monthly statements, to answer questions about people who are calling regarding their monthly statements. They have an entire facility of folks that have been trained by us about the unique structure of our agreement, who our niche market, our demographic is, why the prohibition against interest. We've trained them on all of this, and we hired their servicing unit to help us with this. Most mortgage companies don't do it internally. It's very costly. And so they have the facilities to be able to do that. And that's what they specialize in addition to what they do as a bank, which we don't operate in that regard. We don't participate in anything that they do as a banking institution, but their servicing unit is important to us, and they help us with these administrative tasks. And I hope that clarifies for those who had that question in their mind what our relationship is to U.S. Bank.
Thank you, Hassan, for answering that question. Numan has a few good questions, which I'll answer. Numan's first question was, who pays for the maintenance of the home? And Numan, that's a really good question. So maintenance, it's just the upkeep of the house. It's, keeping the paint fresh, the lawn mowed. We don't share in that. And the reason we don't share in that is because we're not utilizing the property with you, right? Because you're utilizing the full 100% of the property. You're taking care of the maintenance costs. Likewise, because you're keeping up with the maintaining of the property or the maintenance of the property, you also are 100% owner of the equity that we gained on the property. So when you sell the home, let's say you bought it for $200,000, and a few years later you're moving to a different state, like Kimberly mentioned, right? And the value is $250. That increase in the equity because you maintain the house is 100% yours. So we don't share that with you. And then you also asked the second question, which I want to address, which is the maximum finance amount. So they differ county by county. In certain places it's 700,000. In certain places it could be 500,000. In certain areas it could be $1 million. So it really just depends on that. Hassan, we'll take a few more questions as the questions they continue to come in.
Yeah, and I wanna just make a statement for those who attended tonight. We're very, very excited to have you joining us and listening to our program and understanding kind of where we've come from and how we became the leader in this space. We've helped nearly 25,000 U.S. Muslim households finance their homes. It's a much bigger number than one would think, but to give you scale, if you take anyone else in this space that happens to be operating in this space and combine them all, they barely make a quarter of the volume that we've produced. And that's an important distinction. Why? Because, again, when we set out to do this, if you were with us at the very beginning, at the top of the hour, we set out to do it correctly, from A to Z. We set out to do it in a way that did not leave any room for doubt. And that meant not being a banking institution, not being affiliated with a banking institution. That meant structuring it with the highest regard for authority in Islamic financial transaction laws, with the leadership in our Sharia Supervisory Board. Again, all of that was put into play, and that's where you get the great distinction between our authenticity, our leadership in this space, our global presence, and our service to this community in America that we're very, very proud of, and everything else.
Right. The really good question came in from Fahad, and I think this is worth answering right away, which is, how long is a pre-approval letter valid for? So, when you get pre-approved, it's valid for 120 days. It's about 4 months, which is, a good amount of time. It's a very small investment and really big return. Ismail, you asked, are you permitted to get a property manager on a rental property that you purchase? Absolutely. There are no restrictions on that at all. And I want to mention this is a really good question, Hussam, that AKM Hussein brought up from Buffalo, New York. He says, "Are you hiring in New York and Buffalo in particular?"
Oh my gosh.
We're
Yeah.
hiring just about yeah, we're hiring just about anywhere, everywhere, right? So I'm
Good
glad
point.
you asked this question. And while people are getting furloughed and people are getting laid off and retail shops are closing down, Alhamdulillah, and this is from the grace of Allah first, and then your support, that we're growing, and we're growing so much that we need to hire. We're looking to hire everywhere. So that applies to not only AKM Hussein, but anybody else that's interested. Apply on our website. Tell your family and friends so they could really benefit from being a part of this really amazing organization that's doing good all over the place.
Yes. Thank
All
you
right.
for mentioning that one, Salman. We are absolutely hiring. We are looking for professionals out there that can help us in the area of advising our clients directly. The positions are called account executive positions and require licenses, but it's not very difficult. To get the license. There's some studying that needs to be done and completed, but we are absolutely looking for quality professionals from our community to serve our community in many of the states that we operate in. So please reach out to us. You can find information on our website or on LinkedIn. We have a presence on LinkedIn as well.
Abdul Rahman is asking, can I buy shares as an investor in Guidance Residential?
Good question. The short answer is no. We're a privately held company owned by the parent company Capital Guidance. It's a Muslim-owned company, private equity firm, and the reason why it's a privately held company is so that all of the enterprises that they get themselves involved with, all of the companies they launch, there's better controls in that sense. This being in particular, this company being in particular Guidance, we have a leadership team, basically ownership team that ensures that this company maintains the Sharia standards that's been laid out by our scholars and by IOFI. And so, anytime you introduce new partners, new owners, some of those things can get diluted. So, right now, no. The answer, unfortunately, is no. No.
Talha asked Hussam, can we do business? Can we help him in Canada?
We do not operate in Canada, and that's mainly for the reason being Canada does not have a housing finance structure similar to the United States. There's limitations on liquidity for home financing providers. And so if we were to operate in Canada, we'd be limited by the amount of housing investment coming from a typical Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae structure. They don't have that. And so our purpose right now is strictly serving the American Muslim households that are out there. And it's a big market. Like we said at the beginning, we're only in 34, 35 states. There's still more states to go. And there's still within the states areas where many Muslims don't know that this option is available to them. So we're focused really more on the United States with this mortgage program, and Allahu Alam what happens in the future, but today this is our focus.
Shudhi Hashmi asked a question about discount points, and I think we might have mentioned it in our discussion, and I'm sure others are also asking what are discount points. So discount points are basically so you have a profit rate, and it's called a par profit rate. But if you wanted to get anything lower than what the regular profit rate is, so let's say for example today's profit rate is 3.5%, it would come in the par rate. It would come with 0 discount points, which means 0 additional cost. Now, if you wanted to go lower than the par, let's say 3.375, 3.25, 3.125, 3.0, the lower you go, it's going to come with higher discount points, which are one-time fees that you pay at the time of closing to get that lower than the par profit rate. Mohammed Bilal Hussam is asking, why don't we do murabaha contracts?
Why don't we do murabaha contracts? Well, again, listen, I hate to sound like a broken record about going back to our Sharia Supervisory Board, but that's really the reality of it. When developing sort of the framework for this program, all was put on the table, all was evaluated, all the options, murabaha, ijara, musharaka, and whether or not what kind of institution we should be, bank or non-bank. But at that point, the musharaka mutanaqisa that they helped us develop was the most consumer-friendly approach for U.S. home buyers. It gives them the opportunity to own on day one. It gives them the opportunity to actually have ownership on day one, and that was a big deal. But also, it was scalable. Scalability was a big key to this, and so there's I'm sure a lot more that went into it. But we were not advised to go down the road of murabaha. We were advised to go down the road of musharaka mutanaqisa through the shirakat al-milk structure, and that's exactly what we did. And we noodled our way through all of the hurdles and all of the challenges, the regulatory and so on and so forth. It may have been a shorter path to developing a product had we gone the murabaha, but we weren't looking for the shortest path. We were looking for the most authentic path, the most highly recommended path set out by scholars such as Justice Muhammad Taqi Uthmani and the six others that are just incredible in knowledge about these subject matters.
Minimum credit score, Kimberly asked. Minimum credit scores are 580, and we're licensed in over 30 states. Hussam, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, and we can
well, look, we still have a lot of people on this webinar, and I want to thank all of them for sticking around this late. We have, I mean, it's incredible how many people are still on. So it's a testament to kind of the, I think, the demand that's out there for the thirst for knowledge, the understanding of this. Homeownership is a big step. Homeownership is essentially the biggest financial decision that a household will make, an individual, a family will make. And to do it in the manner that abides by our deen, by our faith, is just as important, if not more important than anything else, to be frank. To build your foundation, to build your household under a roof that is blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's nothing like it. And so what we've done is gone out of our way as an institution to ensure that this facilitation of homeownership happens to the letter of the Sharia and to the benefit of the consumer as they would benefit naturally in the U.S. environment, the financial environment of buying a home. And so make no mistake about it, we take this responsibility incredibly seriously. We've done so for the last 18 years, and we'll continue doing that. And inshallah, we will have the opportunity to actually work directly with you